I'd started playing Dungeons & Dragons and Adventures League at my local game store for a few sessions and was kind of leaning towards maybe wanting to be a GM. So I talked to the coordinator like, hey, if you guys got a spot open or something, I think I might want to be a GM sometime.
Oh, great. Actually, we're low on GMs right now. We got a tier 2 table ready that doesn't have someone running it. And man, we were planning on kicking them all out if someone didn't volunteer. You have the Fane of the Night Serpent prepared?
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah. Night Serpent Fane-a-majig is the thing, which I totally have right now.
Great. We'll have your table up and running in 5 minutes.
And so, that's how I started GMing for Adventures League. Okay, you guys, just give me some time, because I gotta flip through this and make sure I got everything down. By the way, also, there's a new player at your table. Even though everyone's level 5, she's level 1. I don't have anywhere else to place her, so she's going to be here playing with you.
I'm playing a Wizlord.
Okay, gotcha. The coordinator is standing behind her, and he starts giving me this very serious look over her shoulder going, she's first level. New player. Yeah, I heard you the first time. First level, new player, Ben. First level, new player, Ben. Okay. He's telling me that because a lot of the enemies in the module that I'm running can instantly kill her in one shot. Many of the attacks can result in instant death, even if she rolls a critical success against them. So I have to be really, really careful with how I handle her character to make sure she doesn't become meat paste against the walls in the first 5 minutes into the game. We started playing the module, and the plot line I was running them through was stopping Ras Nasi at the Fane of the Night Serpent. The players had to get into the temple and acquire some stolen items. Burrowed deep within the deadly jungle of Chult is a Yuan-Ti or Serpent Folk temple, Fane of the Night Serpent, run by an insane, deranged cult leader who's heralded as a prophet by his followers and goes by the name Ras Nasi. His dark cult kidnaps those who wander too far into the forest and uses them for labor or sacrifices them to their bloodthirsty god. Ras Nasi has the upper half of a man and a lower half of a serpent. His body is wrapped with bandages, covering sores and boils from his disease. Recently, he's become even more deranged and cruel since he's looking for a cure for his ailment, which shows no sign of slowing down. His dark lord, Asirak, has promised him a cure, but the cult leader is nothing more than a pawn for the necromancer's games. At first when I was running it, I was really confused. In the module, they're supposed to be getting in through the front gate and then somehow going over to get the item that Ras had stolen. But the module didn't really tell me what they had to do. Like, there were no locks on the front gate for them to pick, and the Yuan-Ti entered the temple by transforming into snakes. But how are the players supposed to get in? One of the players cast Minor Illusion on some rocks to turn them into fake coins, and they used that to bribe the front guard and get in. And I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, we'll go with that. A fight breaks out once they get inside. One of the servants see a player decapitate an enemy and they start screaming, and then I have to retcon it saying, actually, she doesn't start screaming. On second thought, the room next door has a pool of blood from the dozens and dozens of slaves that were sacrificed, so she's seen crazier stuff around here. The hallways fill with the temple defenders to battle with them, and the fight immediately went south and just kept going south even farther from there. The players get overwhelmed very quickly. There were several rooms filled with enemies, and they ended up triggering multiple fights. It didn't look that bad at first, until one player went down, and the next, and the next, and then two of the players look into a pool, and it gives them an insanity, and they both get blinded for 3 days. One of the players wanted to get out of danger, so he teleports into this mysterious room, which he thought was a storage area. Instead, it turned out to be one of the head priest's quarters, with her 2 bodyguards, and her pet air elemental. And then she cast a spell on him, paralyzing him, and had her bodyguard stab him through the chest. Once the players start seeing that they're losing the fight, in a brilliant move, one of the players says, "Let's split the party." Yeah, that's a good idea. One group fled through one door and the other group fled through the other door, and they both barred the doors, trapping the enemies inside. They used the time to heal up and rout the enemies away from each other. After that was over, the players finally managed to limp out of there. I'm like, wow, that was crazy dangerous. What I figured out was that I had accidentally skipped over a section. At the beginning of the chapter is a bit of fluff and extra details. My eyes had passed over it because I was rushed and jumped right into the next part, which was the room and the front gate details, and didn't think it was relevant. Then I decided to double back and eventually read it. It begins. The Fane of the Night Serpent is a truly difficult adventure, and if the players want to overcome it, they're going to have to be sneaky about it. In order to infiltrate it, the players need to submit themselves as slaves. And they're all totally going to be okay with that. In order to do this, the players have to find the nearest Wanty patrol and say, "Hey, you guys, I hear you're looking for slaves. Wow, that's really weird that we should run into each other because we're looking to become slaves ourselves. You guys want slaves? We want to be slaves? Maybe we can work something out here." The players all immediately decide to become slaves, and everyone agrees to this. And they decide to all give up their weapons and armor and magic items, and they decide to start working at the temple for a while and come up with a plan. And this is totally cool with everyone in the party. Okay, well then, let's assume that doesn't work out. Is there a plan B? Yes! They die! Okay, what about a plan C? This is my first group. I would kind of like to not have them hate me. When I found out that I had accidentally derailed the storyline, I did my best to try and get them back on track, until I discovered that one of their allies was now a bloody mess on the floor, with a spear rammed through her chest. And that was when they had passed the point of no return. Originally, she was supposed to present an offer to the characters. Since one of the players had trespassed into her room, that was not an option. Now that the players have made fast friends with the head priest and sneakily infiltrated the keep, ding, 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 they should have no problem accessing the throne room. In this adventure, players should take care not to go mindlessly about murdering everything in the area. After that, the players are using these teleporters to move around the temple. So you guys are going to be using these teleporters, but don't know where you're going. Okay, everyone give me percentile rolls to see where you end up. What was lucky was that most of the players ended up going to the same area. What was unlucky was the one person who didn't. So we ended up in the throne room, and Rosnasi is there. You see him talking to some slaves angrily.
"That's the last time I let you get away with that."
He reaches into one of the slaves' chests, pulls out a still-beating heart, and tosses the body to the floor. I leave. Hold on, I have to populate the room. You got one head priest, his 3 bodyguards. I'm leaving. Some dead servants, there's 12 of them. You got 1 champion, a few brood guard. I'm still leaving. Let's add a few more. Wait, hold on, I'm running out of figures to populate the room. I'm leaving right now. I know, I heard you. I'm just adding some more enemies. The wizard realizes that this room is just filled with all these enemies close together. So he runs in there and chucks a fireball into the center. But as it goes out, Rosnasi flicks his wrist. There's a bright blue glow, and the fireball flits out of existence. It turns out that Rosnasi is a high-level spellcaster and knows how to counterspell.
"You're going to have to do better than that, boy."
So he backs out of the room and teleports away.
"After him. Bring me his head."
The players used the teleporters to all split up, and Roz's forces were hot on their heels, going out to different sections of the complex. And what followed was one of the craziest encounters I've ever had to run, where the fight was broken up across the entire complex in several rooms. There must have been over 20 people battling in it. For me, it was a tough mega encounter to run with so many enemies, and each enemy had multiple types of attacks. I kept having to flip back and forth through the book going, okay, Zombie 1 makes an attack, misses. Zombie 2 makes an attack, hits. Roll versus paralysis. Okay, flip, flip, flip. Broodguard 1 makes a bite, miss. Broodguard 7 makes a claw attack. Okay, flip, flip, flip. Malison 1 makes a bite, make a con save versus poison. Now, okay, flip, flip, flip. Now the champion decides to. In the hallway, 2 people were fighting the brood guards. Another group was barred in the royal chamber, stabbing through a door. Another 2 were up on the balcony, escaping from the undead. While in the throne room, the fighter was going to town, mano a mano, with Rosnasi. Personally insulted that someone would dare try and confront him.
"You worm would dare challenge a god."
The cult leader looked to one of his slaves and said,
Bring me my sword.
and the slave came back with this ornate handle, and Roz unsheathed this sword, which ignited with flames. Rosnacy, which you can see on a lot of the game artwork for him, has an enchanted flaming sword. In the duel, the fighter managed to cut off his hand, steal the sword from him, and use it to kill him. After an epic fight and a lot of back and forth, the players managed to defeat the entire temple's defenses, and the whole place was just littered with corpses. My table ended up having to stay later than most everyone else, and we were the last group in the game store that night, rolling and battling it out inch by bloody inch. You know, oftentimes, if you bash your head against a brick wall enough, eventually, it'll come tumbling down.